Hi, I'm Kim Richardson, and I help you organize and plan your genealogy research to break through barriers and solve those brick wall problems. If you're like me, you got into genealogy because you love researching your family history, you love to learn stuff, you love puzzles, and you could do all of that for free or at a very low cost, at least to start. And then as you get a little more advanced and you dig a little deeper, or maybe you just stumble upon a huge mystery, you realize that you're going to have to spend a little bit of money in order to get more answers, to dig a little deeper, and to solve those mysteries. Now, if that sounds like a bad thing, let's reframe it just a little bit. If it gives you pause to just spend a bunch of money on every subscription and record that you can think of, that's good. It means that you're a good researcher. You're going to be careful about what you spend your money on. You're not going to go out there and just get every record or every subscription that you can get. And you're going to do more laser focused research. So let's talk about a way to do that. Tough genealogy problems are solved through strategy. And strategy is created by following a research plan. There's an easy way to create a research plan, and I'm going to share that with you today. When I have a tough genealogy problem, I turn to the Brick Wall Buster cards to help me plan to find an answer, and it has not let me down. This has solved more brick walls for me than any other method I've ever tried. So I'm going to talk you through how I use these to create a research plan that works. So the first thing that I have to do is create a research question. And I have a card that reminds me, hey, this is important. I write the research question down on a sticky note, and I can put the sticky note maybe on a table or post it on a wall, or even just append it to the research question card as a placeholder for me. But this is what I am focused on. This is what is going to keep me on track and help me create that really efficient way to solve this mystery. So then once I have the research question written down and into my workspace, I take the rest of the research planning cards that are in the deck, and these are all research planning cards. This is a huge list of places that are going to help me solve this problem. But I take these and I go through them one by one. I sit and I spend a lot of time with this. Maybe I take these over to my recliner and I go through them like they are flashcards and sit and spend time thinking about how can this record set help me solve this problem. And I usually come up with some really inventive ways to do that. I think a lot of that is because I'm not on the computer when I do this, and I don't have a written checklist right in front of me. So my brain is not tempted to just go down through a checklist and go, yep, got it, got it, got it, got it, got it, yep, got it, and rapid fire through that checklist. I have to spend some time thinking about how can I use this particular record set to answer my research question. And I use these records in ways they were never intended to be used. For example, with the land records card, I can sit and ponder that for a while. How can I use land records to prove parentage? Well, maybe I could find deeds between the parent and the child. Maybe I could find deeds between my target ancestor and their sibling or their cousin, and then work my way backwards from there to find out who their parents were or their grandparents, and then come down to the parents. Or, there's a lot of different ways that I can use land records. My research question here is, who were the parents of Edward McFadden, who was born about 1855 in Jefferson County, Arkansas? And as I go through my deck of cards, marriage records pops up. What I think is maybe I could get his sister's marriage record, and maybe the parents are on her record or another sibling. And so I can really spend some time going in depth here and thinking about some other ways to use these records. And so I just spend some time going through these and flipping from one to the next. I really, really take my time here. I try to go very in depth, be very analytical at this point, because that is what is going to give me a great, solid list of sources to look for. Now, once I have that done, it's time to decide which of these sources to go after first. And so for this, I take my sticky notes and I lay them out and I begin to rank them. At the top of my workspace, I put the sticky notes for the sources that are most likely to answer my research question. And towards the bottom of my workspace, I put the ones that are least likely to answer my research question. Using sticky notes this way is really easy because I can move these around. I don't have to erase or mark something out or rewrite it or renumber it or draw arrows all over my paper. If I want to re-rank something, an item, put it at a higher ranking, all I have to do is move the sticky note. And so I can move these around over my workspace until I get them in the order of most likely to answer my research question to least likely to answer my research question. And now, while we're on the topic of being frugal, the next thing that I do is I study those and I think about what the cost is going to be for each one of those. This is the first time that I think about the cost. My main concern is what is going to produce good research, and then I need to see if I can afford to do it. So I'm going to go through each sticky note and maybe just make a note about what the cost of that is. Now I want to look at and see, where does this fall into my budget? If there is a really good, most likely to answer my research question source at the top of my workspace, but maybe it's a little more expensive than what I would normally want to spend, I want to really think about, maybe I just need to save up and get that. Maybe I need to put aside a few dollars a month until I can get that particular record because it's at the top, because it is most likely to answer my research question. So it would be the smartest thing to do to obtain that particular record. Now, the ones that are further down the list, maybe coincidentally, they happen to be a little bit cheaper. But I have to remind myself they're further down the list because I said they were least likely to answer my research question. And by the time I pay for 2 or 3 of those that I really didn't think were likely to answer my research question, I could have invested in the more expensive record that I do think is likely to answer my research question. So this is where that planning and that deciding and comparing it to your budget really starts to come in. But now I have a really good, solid research plan that I can execute to come up with a super efficient way to answer my research question and find those genealogy answers. Now, as I execute those searches, I also want to come back and update my findings. And I do that with sticky notes as well. Wherever in my workspace the original sticky note was that told me what to go look for in the repository, I'll come back and either on the back side of it or I'll add a sticky note beside it and I'll say, this is what I found out when I searched this record set. I put the date that I did the search, what I found out, any other information I need, and I go through each one of those and execute those searches that way. And again, by using sticky notes in my workspace, if I mess up or if I need to reword something, I can just pull that sticky note off and replace it. And I say sticky notes, but you can use scrap pieces of paper. It is so much easier to update that than to go into a spreadsheet or retype something or rewrite something on a sheet of paper. I'm not dealing with messiness and I don't get confused trying to find it in my computer to update it in a spreadsheet or something like that. Now, this sticky note method works really well for me, and I hear from a lot of other people who really love it as well. And what you want to do is take a photograph of the workspace so that you can preserve all of those notes and where they were laid out. And then if you need to pick them up, you can put them into an envelope and stick them inside your research folder. If you want, you can take the information that is on that sticky note and transfer it over to a research log so that you can preserve the information that way as well. So the next time you're faced with a challenging genealogy mystery, don't let the thought of spending money deter you. Do some planning, create a really efficient research plan, and go find the answers. Hey, if you're curious about the Brick Wall Buster cards that I mentioned, check the link below and go check them out. These are amazing. This is the way that I solve my brick wall problems, and it has yet to let me down. Hey, please hit that like button down below. It helps more than you can know, and I really appreciate it. Thanks for watching.